I'm Jordan, 32. Standing in my cozy bungalow, I'm surrounded by the warm glow of the sunset filtering through the windows. The laughter of my friends fills the air, mingling with the clinking of wine glasses. It's been 3 months since I finally claimed this place as my own, and it still feels like a dream.
But it wasn't always this way.
A few months ago, I was on the verge of a breakdown. I'd just moved into this bungalow, a place I'd saved for 9 long years. I remember standing on the front porch, the keys still warm in my hand, breathing in the crisp Oregon air. I was finally home, but then 2 cars pulled into my driveway, kicking up dust in the afternoon sunlight. It was my family, my parents, my older brother Ryan, his wife Lily, and their 3 kids. My mother, Diana, stepped out first. She was a force to be reckoned with, always used to getting her way. Despite the 5-hour drive from Seattle, her perfectly styled hair was in place. My father, Robert, followed, a man of few words, but with a strong sense of family duty. Ryan, with his overconfident stride, and Lily trailing behind him, along with the kids running across my new lawn. Diana waved and called out, "Jordan, there you are." Behind her, Ryan opened the trunk, revealing suitcases and moving boxes. I felt my fingers tighten around the house keys. "What's all this?" I asked, my voice trembling. Diana approached, her eyes darting between me and the house. "Well, we've come to move in, of course," she said, frowning as she took in the simple structure. "But, Jordan, where do we sleep?" I was in shock. 9 years of sacrifice, skipping vacations, eating brown bag lunches, working overtime on weekends and holidays, all for this moment, my moment. And without a single conversation, they decided it was theirs. Ryan scoffed, "Don't play dumb, Jordan. We've been planning this for months." I remembered the family dinner last month. I'd proudly mentioned that I'd qualified for a mortgage. Diana had immediately clapped her hands and said, "Our new home." Before I could correct her, Ryan had pulled out his phone and started showing U.S. listings of huge houses with price tags well over $750,000. "This one has enough bedrooms for everyone," he'd said. I'd said nothing then, used to keeping my opinions to myself to avoid disappointment. But I'd assumed they'd realize their mistake. Now I found my voice. "This is my home. I bought it for myself," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. Diana laughed dismissively. "Don't be ridiculous, Jordan. We've been planning this move for months. Your father's already given notice at his job." Something inside me shifted. I straightened my shoulders and said, "Your plans? Not mine." Diana's smile froze, and Robert glanced up, sensing the change in the atmosphere. Ryan joined us on the porch and said, "Jordan is being difficult. She's pretending she didn't promise to help us." Robert's voice took on that familiar edge. "Your brother has given up his apartment. The children have been enrolled in school here." The weight of their expectations crashed down on me. After years of putting their needs first while Ryan floundered from one failed business venture to another, I was once again expected to solve their problems. And if I didn't, I'd be the villain in the family. Ryan placed his hand on my shoulder, pressing a little too firmly. "If you don't help your own family, who will?"
He said.
I looked at the keys in my hand, at the door to my empty home, and for the first time, I wondered if I had the courage to choose myself. 3 days later, I received an email from a realtor. The subject line made my blood run cold. Thompson Family Dream Home Purchase Agreement Ready. I opened it and found that Diana had used my identity and financial information to put a hold on a $768,000 house. She'd even enrolled the kids in a school district based on this house I'd never agreed to buy. When they showed up at my place that day, I confronted them. I held up the email and said, "You used my name without permission." Diana waved it off. "Don't be dramatic, Jordan. I simply initiated the process. You would have been consulted." I was furious. "You put a $2,000 hold using my payment information. That's theft." Ryan interrupted. "Strong words for family helping family." I retorted, "How exactly were you helping me by trying to make me responsible for a house I can't afford?" Robert said it was an investment, and Diana added that they'd had to secure the kids' spots in school. Ryan shrugged and said he'd given notice at his job. I'd had enough. This stops now. I'm not buying that house. I'm not signing a loan. I'm not funding your relocation, I declared. Diana's eyes filled with rehearsed tears. If your credit score drops, our scores will fall even further. We'll never qualify for anything decent. Our rental agreement is already terminated. I pulled out my budget book, showing them 9 years of statements. Look at this. 65% of every paycheck saved. No vacations, no new cars, packed lunches every day. This is how I afforded this house. And you emptied my college tuition account for Ryan's coffee shop that lasted only 6 months. Ryan scoffed. So what? You want a medal for being boring? I replied, I have a life. I built myself piece by piece. I'm done betraying myself. The following days were a nightmare. Ryan launched a campaign on social media, making me out to be the bad guy. Distant relatives started calling, scolding me. Even my grandmother, Eleanor, called and said, I never thought you'd be so selfish. Family takes care of family. But then, I received a text from Lily. I understand why you said no. I would have done the same, she wrote. Her words gave me the strength I needed. Later, when they showed up at my apartment again, I opened photo albums from my childhood. I pointed to pictures of my high school graduation, college scholarship ceremony, and my first art show. This is what you've done for me. You've taught me that I'm only valuable when I'm useful to you, I said. Just then, my friend Mia arrived with packing boxes. She ignored Ryan's attempts to stop her and said, Ready for the next load? Ellis and I have a schedule. While my family had always demanded sacrifice, my friends had always celebrated my milestones. They still tried to convince me to sign the loan, but I stood my ground. I've been financially independent since college. I bought this house with my own hard work. I'm not going to change my mind, I said firmly. Finally, they realized I wasn't budging. Ryan's confident stride turned into an uncertain shuffle. Robert suggested discussing alternative arrangements, and Lily mentioned an apartment complex on Riverside. The weeks that followed were quiet. I heard through the neighborhood that Ryan and his family had moved into a small rental. My parents' silence, which at first felt like punishment, gradually became space for me to breathe. Then, 3 months later, Diana texted and asked if she could visit. I agreed, setting clear boundaries. When she arrived with a box of cinnamon cookies, she waited to be invited in. We sat in silence for a while, and then she said, This is a lovely home, Jordan. It was a small beginning, but it gave me hope that some bridges could be rebuilt. As I look around at my friends in my bungalow, I realize that saying no was the beginning of something beautiful. I've finally claimed my independence and built a life that's truly mine.